And I'm going to give you another tip here about how to handle our feelings. And I'll give you an example of a benign argument that I had with my son. Or sorry, my husband. I have lots of arguments with my son. Okay. All right. For Thanksgiving every year we go to my in-laws and we have like 25 people, and I really like cooking and I like hosting and I like getting a little fancy. So I did half of the meal, maybe 4 years ago. I did half of the meal and I fancied it up. And I did not do a stovetop, I did not do yams, but my cousin Javier did. So in essence we had a competition of the platters for us to eat. So it goes around the table, the bowls, that's how we do it, The bowl goes around the table, and my husband grabs the stovetop and puts it on his plate. And I say, that's the stovetop. Yeah? So then my stuffing comes, right? And I've got chorizo in there, and Granny Smith apples. And so my husband passes it over. He didn't even give a scoop, right? Yeah, I should say more, he didn't give a scoop. Okay, so he passes it toward me, and I look at my brother-in-law, Jimmy. Jimmy, this is my stuffing, okay? So then my sauteed Brussels sprouts come in, and he does the exact same thing. And I'm like, you're passing up everything. And he says, I don't need to validate you. Oh, yes you do. Because in my fantasy world, not only are you going to skip that stovetop and you're going to get my fancy stuffing on there, you're going to let me know that I rocked it, that I'm a wonderful daughter-in-law, that I would, I cook well enough, I could open a restaurant, right? Accolades, give me a little bit more. But no, instead, he just said, I don't need to validate you. And my brother-in-law, Jimmy, got, the whole prepping of every time one of my dishes came by, So I did a job of pressuring him to try them. Okay, so there's one of the examples of the arguments in which I did this process that actually helped me feel more sane and not really push away my partner, which was my desire. Have you ever been in bed with your partner and you think, I have an invisible line right down the middle, and I don't even want your big toe crossing that invisible line, right? So again, if I go back to touch, when we touch each other, it reduces the sense of anger that we have and helps us to connect. Okay, so my gourmet meal that was rejected by my husband. All right, so what I did as I'm sitting there eating is I did the steps of Margaret Paul's inner bonding. And one is, what are my feelings, okay? So in my brain, I'm thinking, I feel unimportant when you pass on my plates because I want to be acknowledged. Okay, so that, and by the way, I did all this in my brain because I didn't let him know, because he would let me know that was my issue, not his issue, right? You're feeling unimportant at dinner? Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so then what we do is we reflect to childhood. So I have this magnet in my home that says dysfunctional parents make much more interesting children, and a lot of times I find myself pretty interesting. So one of the reasons that I'm a therapist is a bit of a crazy childhood. What I then did is reflect on my childhood. So when I was younger, when did I feel unappreciated or kind of unworthy? Ooh, a fair amount. I was a bit invisible. I do a good job rebelling against that invisibility now because I'm pretty seen. So I reflect upon my childhood. So if I put here, kind of unworthiness or unimportant. So these are things that you think about. This is why I'm going through this process, is for you to think about when you're in conflict with your partner, because you're going to have it. Okay, so I reflected upon the childhood that, oh yeah, that's kind of a trigger for me. Then I thought about my higher sense of self, or the spirituality that we have. And what message would I receive at that time? And if I link to a higher sense of self, then that feeling of worthiness, unworthiness, switches to worthiness. So then I challenge, so I'll put here higher self. So then I have to look at how am I being my own pain in my own butt with my negative messages. And that is, so how we increase negative feelings. And so what happens is, when he passes on my stuffing or my Brussels sprouts, is that I then equated that to not being important. And does that really mean I'm not important because he doesn't moan and groan over how good it is? No, that's just my fantasy, right? So when I look at how my own thoughts are increasing my negative feelings, but I actually, when I look at my higher self, I realize that I have worth, then I go down here for a rational statement. And what's rational? I liked finding the recipes. I like going to the store to buy them. I enjoyed cooking them. I enjoyed eating them. And you're right, you don't have to validate me. So I looked at him in dinner and I said, because you know, this process was probably, I don't know, maybe 4 minutes in my brain. Because I was a little bit hesitant, because I just kind of wanted to say, you. And I said, you're right, your job isn't to validate me. Boy, that tone was a little bit yucky. Oh, sorry about that. And then we move forward. So I could give a lot of bigger examples of conflicts, but that might be a little bit too TMI. And it helps to get the point across of the work that we do inside is key to the connection that we have with each other. Again, blame is enjoyable. Blame doesn't get us anywhere. Any questions about that? Okay. Look at my time here. Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about sex. You know, it is my favorite topic. Okay, I'm going to go for Masters of Johnson. Any of you guys watched Masters of Sex on, was it Showtime? I'm forgetting which one it was. All right. And they were great pioneers. They got people naked. They got them on tables. They got them hooked up. They were watching what they were doing. They were the king and queen of voyeurs and data entry individuals. So what they did is great for our field, but not so great today. So what they had here was time. Oops. Sorry. Time's here. Phases are here. And they said that when you're sexual, we have phases that we go to, like a 1, 2, 3, and we got a time frame. Gotta watch the time. Gotta make this one quick. Okay. They say men go arousal. I'll make an A here. Plateau. That's how I want to do it all night long. And orgasm. Woo! Okay? And then they say, what's that? 3 to 7 minutes. Then they go to ladies. And ladies go, arousal, plateau, woo! Guess what we can do? Woo! A little bit more. Okay? And they say the pole could walk in right here and you're still going to go, oh. All right. So this was a model that helped us understand in the beginning. Here's the model now that's going to help you guys in your own bedroom. And it's not going to be linear. It's going to be cyclical. And what's the first part of it? Is a positive relationship. So people say you're a sex therapist, you talk about sex all day. Well, I like to do that, but I talk about relationships and individual healing. Okay, so we got a positive relationship. What's the key to good sex and good relationships? Having an open mind. So even though I'm not really interested when I'm doing the dishes right now, and you're coming up and you're really kind of rubbing on me, your timing is off, but I gotta think about what is my open mind? What am I thinking? And then we go to giving and receiving touch. So many women, we think we got to start being intimate when our motors are already revved. We're not good at that. We're like a boiling pot, whereas men are like the microwave. And so if you wait for us to be a little bit hot, you're going to be waiting a long time, okay? So what we do is we want to get in and involved in touch first before our motor's running. Because what happens is, oh, motor runs most of the time. Not all the time, most of the time. And then we go to this stage, which is desire. And desire isn't lust that we had in the beginning. I mean, we can have it occasionally. Desire is, I desire to share myself with my partner. I desire to prioritize intimacy, and I desire this touch to continue. And then we go here to positive, emotional, and physical satisfaction. And that's not defined by whether or not you got a rocket ship going in your bedroom, whether or not you got a big O and you're swinging from the ceiling fans. It's about, do you feel an emotional satisfaction and connection with your partner? And do you feel a physical satisfaction? Lastly on this is that we go to a positive, regular, intimate life. And that isn't based upon if the Joneses are doing it 2.5 times per week and what you should be doing or shouldn't be doing. It's about what you and your partner define. So I hope from my Valentine's Day discussion today that you will look at what's happening within you, really taking care of yourself, getting a sense of balance, communicating through your words, your listening and touching, and then shifting into the way to enhance our intimacy, because it's vital in our relationships, is the open-minded, and the touch comes before that motor's revving, so you can really define the intimate life that you deserve. So is there any questions now, as I'm right at the edge? Yes?
There's one more thing I think that helps this group in the bedroom.
Yes?
Viagra.
What